She was born and raised in a quiet town tucked between rolling hills and endless fields of corn. On summer evenings, she'd drag her metal detector through dusty lanes, dreaming of buried coins and forgotten relics. At 11 years old, most kids her age were playing video games or texting friends, but she chased echoes of the past, believing each beat might reveal a small piece of history. Everyone called her curious, some even said stubborn, but she knew she had a gift for finding what was hidden. That warm July afternoon, everything changed. A powerful summer storm had shaken the town the night before, lightning striking old oak trees and rattling the foundations of the century-old mine on the hill. News spread that a wealthy investor from the city, a man with deep pockets and grand plans, had come to tour the mine's collapsed shafts. He'd promised jobs, new equipment, the kind of opportunity that could revive the entire county. His name was Robert King, a self-made millionaire known for turning ghost towns into booming communities. By midday, whispers grew urgent. The investor had gone missing. Rescue teams, bright orange jackets and heavy machinery in tow, scoured the unstable ground. Plumes of dust rose where they worked, and worried neighbors huddled near the yellow tape, shielding their eyes from heat and heartbreak. The mining company's CEO paced his office, phone glued to his ear as media crews circled like vultures. Every minute that passed felt heavier than the last. Back at her little farmhouse, she felt it in her bones. The moment she heard sirens, she packed her metal detector, slipped into worn sneakers and slipped out the back door. No one tried to stop her. They knew better than to argue. She had a stubborn streak like a mule, and they'd learned long ago that when she set her mind to something, nothing would change it. The search area was a maze of shifting ground and precarious slopes. Teams had declared the eastern shaft too dangerous, but she headed straight there. Her detector's coil hummed at every turn, and she crouched low, listening. She swept the machine over a patch of scorched earth near a fallen boulder, and the beep changed pitch, faster, urgent. She dropped to one knee, traced the signal to a small metal clasp half buried in mud. Heart pounding, she brushed dirt away to reveal the corner of a leather satchel. It was stamped with a gold monogram, RK Limited Edition. She gripped it, carefully, fear and thrill warring inside her. If this belonged to the missing investor, she whispered his name into the wind, praying. She tugged the satchel free and unzipped it. Inside lay scattered papers and a heavy gold cufflink. She slipped the cufflink into her pocket and lifted the papers, engineering blueprints, contracts, half-written plans. The documents were stained, edges torn, but unmistakably his. She knew she was close. Farther down the slope lay a narrow crevice, half collapsed. She peered inside and heard a faint voice. "Help, please." It was hoarse, desperate. Her pulse raced. She set the satchel on solid ground, flipped off her backpack, and pulled out a coil of rope. Kneeling, she tied one end around a sturdy oak root, checked the knot twice, then lowered herself inch by inch into darkness. The air smelled of earth and sweat. Her hands scraped against jagged rocks. "Mr. King?" "I'm here," she called softly, her voice echoing. Another cry answered her. Adrenaline sharpened her focus. She followed the sound until she spotted a shoe and polished leather peeking from under a slab. Carefully, she shifted the stone aside. His face was smeared with dust, eyes wide with shock. "You made it," he rasped. His voice trembled between relief and disbelief. "I'm here to help," she replied, offering him her hand. He gripped it like a lifeline. She wrapped the rope around his waist and guided him toward the opening. With every pull, the ground trembled above, and loose gravel rained down. Her legs burned, her breath came in ragged gasps, but she refused to stop. When he stumbled into daylight, rescue workers froze. Their radios crackled in stunned silence as they took in the sight of an 11-year-old girl hauling a millionaire from the jaws of death. Cameras flashed, voices rose in awe. He collapsed to his knees, tears carving bright trails through the dust on his cheeks. She knelt beside him, her detector dangling from her wrist. He reached into his pocket and drew out something gleaming. The gold cufflink, the one she found in his satchel. I thought I'd lost this, he whispered, pressing it into her palm. Thank you. She shook her head. I just followed the beep. His suit was ruined, but his smile was brighter than any city skyline. Soon paramedics swarmed, checking his pulse and wrapping him in blankets. Journalists pushed forward with microphones shouting questions. She turned and walked away, metal detector under her arm, leaving the chaos behind. That evening, the town gathered at the general store. Word had spread like wildfire. The little girl who chased beeps had saved Robert King. Neighbors stared with wide eyes, hands on hips, mouths agape. She sat on the porch steps, sipping lemonade, smudges of dirt on her cheeks. Robert King arrived, in his wheelchair, a precaution, the doctors said, and wheeled himself onto the porch. He held a small leather-bound journal in his lap. The crowd fell silent. He cleared his throat. I owe my life to this brave young girl, he said, his voice steady but thick with emotion. She could have waited for the adults, but she didn't. She acted. In my world, they call that courage, but in hers, it was just curiosity. I want everyone here to know that we will rebuild this mine safer than ever. Every job created, every dollar invested will bear her name. A cheer rose so loud it rattled the windows. She looked down, surprised, as Robert King handed her the journal. Inside were plans. Blueprints for a scholarship fund, designs for a community center, blueprints stamped for Emily's foundation. Emily, that was her name. No longer just a girl with a metal detector, she was the town's hero, the spark that ignited hope. In the weeks that followed, construction crews arrived with fresh equipment. The mine's entrance was reinforced, new safety protocols implemented, and local families hired to staff the operation. The foundation provided scholarships for curious minds, funding for science fairs, and a new library wing stocked with exploration kits. Emily watched it all unfold with quiet pride. Most days she still roamed dirt roads, detector in hand, hoping to unearth forgotten coins or old relics. But now she carried something more valuable: the assurance that one act of bravery, no matter how small, can transform lives. Years later, when the foundation's center opened, she stood before a crowd of graduates wearing mortarboards and gowns. She had grown taller, her voice steadier, but her eyes carried the same spark. She spoke of curiosity, of courage, and of listening for the faintest beep. And if you ever feel small, she said, remember that at 11 years old, I rescued a millionaire from under broken earth. If I can do that, you can do anything. The crowd erupted in applause. In that moment, she realized the greatest treasure she'd ever found wasn't gold or silver, but the power inside one determined heart to change the world. Sometimes the deepest stories are buried where you least expect them, and it only takes one person to uncover them.